What's up my meatballs, it's Aaronitmar. Today we're going to be looking at all of the final smashes for every character in Super Smash Bros. 4. Now that the game is out, we have seen every single one of them, so we're going to be looking at them each one by one and just sort of going over them, summarizing them, looking at what they do. If you guys could, please drop a like on this video. It will really, truly help me out. So without further ado, let's go ahead and hop straight into it. The first one we have is Mario, who is relatively unchanged from Brawl. He just shoots out a gigantic fireball thing, and it sort of just shoves you off the side of the screen. Next up we have Luigi, who will use his Poltergust 3000, I think, and sort of suck every enemy up and then shoot them off the screen for a KO. Next is Peach, who will do a little dance and everyone on the screen will fall asleep, and these giant peaches appear for some reason. That's new. It also looks like the further you are away from Peach when she does the final smash, the less time you will fall asleep, because as you can see, the one on the right stayed asleep a lot less than the one who was all the way on the left. Bowser is pretty much the same. He will turn into Giga Bowser, and this sort of powers up his moves and makes him a much bigger. I'm not sure if the things like the ice and like the darkness aura thing stay for his moves, but he does turn into Giga Bowser nonetheless, so that will be sort of difficult to work against. Yoshi stays the same as well. Becomes sort of the dragon, launches fireballs, and can also do sort of a prolonged flamethrower type thing if you don't use the fireball long enough. So nothing much different here, but definitely does still look cool. Now for our first new character's final smash, Rosalina will send out a power star, which will then shoot a bunch of little stars everywhere, sort of knocking everyone around and hopefully knocking them off stage. Bowser Jr. and the Koopalings had a pretty predictable final smash. They turn into Shadow Mario with the paint, and then sort of knock the enemies everywhere. I'm not sure if Bowser Jr. is doing the knocking, or if it's wherever the paint is on the screen does damage to the enemy, but regardless they will get knocked around and hopefully fly off the stage. Wario keeps his Brawl final smash and turns into Wario Man, doing kind of like a Giga Bowser type thing where his moves are much more powered up. He doesn't turn bigger, but instead can do further combos like in the air. He can also move a lot faster. I do notice that Wario's does last a little less time than it did in Brawl, so you'll have to work around that, but otherwise it is generally unchanged. Game & Watches is also unchanged. He'll turn into the giant octopus and sort of just smack everyone around with his tentacles, and eventually it will cause you to fly off the screen. He can jump in the air a little bit, but not too much, and then he will transform back. Donkey Kong's is the same as Brawl, but with the added bonus of sort of a Guitar Hero-like progress bar, which sort of gives you more of sense of what to do. I will admit that in Brawl it was pretty difficult to understand how the final smash worked, like how the shockwaves got bigger and such. I wasn't really clear on how to do that, so this is definitely an improvement. Diddy Kong's is exactly the same. He will use his jetpack to be able to fly around and use his cracker launchers, I guess, to launch peanuts everywhere and knock you around off stage. It doesn't look like anything has changed with this one, so you'll be able to jump right in and do the same thing as before. Link's, of course, is also the same as Brawl's. He will sort of trap you inside the Triforce, do a bunch of attacks, and then launch you off screen. The same thing happens with Toon Link. It's pretty much the exact same thing, so both characters have the exact same final smash, and it is the same from Brawl. And of course, Zelda's and Sheik's are both the same. Even though they are separate characters, they both do the light arrow thing, which knocks into the characters, and then I think it is a guaranteed kill. So they both have the same from Brawl as well. Ganon is also unchanged. He will turn into Beast Ganon and launch you off screen after sort of trapping you underneath him. Samus is also the same, with the difference that she will not transform into Zero Suit Samus because she is, of course, her own character now. So she will do the Zero Laser, sort of shove you off screen, but then she will maintain her power suit for fighting. Meanwhile, Zero Suit Samus sort of takes on Snake's final smash and launches lasers out of her ship onto the field from sort of a first-person standpoint. So that is the difference between Samus and Zero Suit Samus for this game. Pit has a new final smash. He'll use the 3 Sacred Treasures to sort of launch a whole barrage of different attacks all over the field. So he gains a bunch of armor and a new staff thing and shield. Palutena's final smash sort of sucks you into a black hole type thing. You don't get sucked in, but you get stuck there, and then a giant beam will shoot at you so you can't get away from it, and then launch you off the stage. Marth is also unchanged. He will launch across the stage, and I believe the first enemy he runs into gets a guaranteed KO, so... but otherwise, he will kill himself if he misses, so that is something you need to worry about, obviously. Ike's is the same. He will launch the enemies up into the air, do a whole barrage of attacks, and then slam them down to the ground. We've seen Robin's final smash. He or she will summon Chrom, do a whole barrage of attacks similar to Ike's, and then I believe that gets launched into the ground as well. So that is a very cool final smash, and also a nice cameo of Chrom. Kirby's final smash is no longer that cooking pot thing, but it is the Ultra Sword from Kirby's Return to Dreamland, a much more fitting final smash in my opinion than the one that he had in Brawl. King Diddy's has also been changed. He will suck in an enemy, do a whole bunch of attacks with his hammer, and then send them with a bomb for the final blow. Meta Knight performs the same Galaxia Darkness final smash as in Brawl. He will shove his cape over a character, sort of pause time, and then immediately perform a devastating blow on that character. Little Mac turns into Gigamac for his final smash. He can do a lot faster moves, he moves a lot faster, and he is bigger overall, similar to Giga Bowser, except he doesn't get as big, but he still does much quicker attacks and much more powerful attacks. Both Fox and Falco keep their Brawl final smashes. They summon a Landmaster, which can sort of hover in the air periodically, launch lasers out at the enemies. It can also fly them up to the top of the stage, hoping for a star KO. So they are pretty much exactly the same as Brawl, so you do not need to learn anything new about them. Pikachu also stays the same. He uses Volt Tackle, sort of like Supersonic, launches all around the screen. I'm not sure. Oh, it looks like he can launch out little bits of electricity around the stage, so that is a very nice final smash, but also the same from Brawl. Because Squirtle and Ivysaur aren't in this game, Charizard Mega evolves into Mega Charizard X for his final smash. He can do a bunch of different attacks as well as fly for a lot longer than he could before, and after a while he will de-evolve back into regular Charizard. Lucario also Mega evolves into Mega Lucario, so sort of the same concept here. He can do much quicker moves, move a lot better, and does more powerful moves. So, pretty much the same thing, nothing really else to discuss. Jigglypuff is pretty much the same from Brawl. She will grow gigantic and sort of send you flying off the stage. But as you can see, at low percents, this is not as devastating as it should be. Greninja launches you into the air and performs a huge barrage of water attacks, and then sends you skyward for the KO. Duck Hunt Dogs is pretty cool. The ducks sort of come and launch you over to the Wild West Gunman, who will shoot you off the stage, hopefully for a KO, of course. R.O.B's final smash is also new. It seems to be just a gigantic laser attack that will launch you off the stage. Nothing really unique or like hugely different, but it is different from its Brawl counterpart. Ness's is slightly modified as well. The PK Starstorm only launches in a small column rather than across the entire stage, so it does seem like it would be easier to avoid after the initial hit. Captain Falcon's is exactly the same. He summons the Blue Falcon and then launches into the enemies that were hit to kill them. Villagers is the Dream Home. They will build his home around the enemy, and then the home will ironically explode and cause the character to hopefully die. Olimar's is exactly the same as well. He will sort of summon his spaceship. The other enemies will be attacked by Pikmin enemies, and then the spaceship will launch down to the ground and then launch the enemies into the air. Wii Fit Trainers we've seen, it sort of launches weird silhouettes of her into the other enemies, sort of shoving them off the stage in hopes of knocking them out. Dr. Mario's is literally Mario's with pills. I don't know, it's sort of the same thing, but it still looks really cool. Dark Pits is one of the most underwhelming. I guess he summons like the same equipment that Pits uses, but the attack ends up being more like Zelda's and Sheik's light arrows, where it sort of lines up and then goes for the kill. Definitely one of the more disappointing final smashes in my opinion. Because Lucina is literally Marth, her final smash is the same too. She launches at enemies and then sends them flying off the stage. No surprises here. Shulk brings in his other party members to sort of bring a whole barrage of attacks on the affected enemies and then send them flying. Pretty cool cutscenes in my opinion. Pacman turns into his arcade self and sort of attacks the opponents, sort of like they were if they were the ghosts from the arcade games. They sort of disappear and then, you know, get launched forward as he quote-unquote eats them, and then eventually you can knock them off stage if you are persistent enough. Sonic, of course, turns into Super Sonic. Pretty much the exact same thing from Brawl, so nothing too big here. I hope that he does become at least a little easier to control, because I remember Brawl's Super Sonic being very difficult to control. I ended up losing track of where I was, so hopefully he's a lot easier to control this time. And of course, who could forget Mega Man? He summons his 5 different incarnations for the gigantic laser assaults and sends the opponent flying off the stage. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it at all, please click that like button and don't forget to subscribe for a ton of Super Smash Bros. Content coming up in the future.